Coach, just what's been the message this week, trying to, keep things positive motivation to really finish out these two games strong and really, like we had talked about the Tennessee game of still finishing the SEC 8-8, 9-8.
Just a lot of encouragement. I've learned you can't give someone, especially kids, confidence. You can't just hand it to them. That has to be earned. But you can keep giving them encouragement, especially when pressures start to mount, things start to magnify. We all know that the first game of the SEC is just as important as the last, but we also know that it magnifies at the end. So those pressures start to creep in. You've got end of the year, you got all kinds of things. So just trying to be real encouraging. Make sure they hear it from us. Make sure they don't see one side of us giving up, of us throwing in the towel, of us quitting, trying. We're going to continue to try new methods, new tactics, and some things, but we're not scrapping. We're not firing anybody. There's no lineup changes. There's not really rotational changes. We all go through moments like that, and I know in real life we all hope that people will believe in us, and that's what we're going to make sure those kids know. We believe in them. The problem we have is they show within a game that we're very, very capable of either being really good defensively or being really good offensively. But we have spurts or something will happen that detracts us from that. So real encouraging. Again, trying to show everybody there's still a lot to play for. The NCAA bubble is there's a lot of teams with a lot of very common resumes. We just want to be playing the best that we can here late so that when that committee goes in there, they've got something good to talk about.
And, you talked about, the whole thing during the season not peaking too early. Do you think that, your decision to keep that roster small, do you kind of look back and maybe wish that maybe I would have added another player or two to really –
that would be what's called resulting. and yeah, you do it. You do it as a coach, but no, I this is what we did. I believe in them. I'm sticking with them. We'll reevaluate it in the off season. I do think this. I do know that a lot of teams in our league went the other direction. My belief is that has short-term payoff. So we have to see the invisible results of that. That it may be a little bit of a delayed gratification, but I did not feel like, and I still do not feel like, for women's basketball, it's different in every sport. But with the landscape of where we were at and where women's basketball was at, no. I want to invest in Merriam and Emory and Jersey and Riley and those people. We brought Chrissy in only when Sasha let us know that she wouldn't be playing this year. And I wanted to invest in the kids that were invested in us. So I'm not going to second guess it. I will obviously evaluate it in the off season and see if that's the continued trajectory of where I believe the game is headed. And if so, we'll have to make some adjustments. But I'm convinced that what we decided was the best thing for our particular team in the way that we do things. And I just hope for the good of the game, it's for us that we did make the right decision, that we don't just start next person up. We want to invest in the people that invested in us. So have I thought about it? Sure, Porter. Yeah, there's times I look over there at these rosters and I go, well, that roster would have looked a lot different if they hadn't brought in 6 different players. This is the team I want to coach. I'm going to keep coaching them.
Last thing for me, just going into the last 2 games of the SEC season, you said confidence, but what's another thing that you're really trying to impact, really get these to get back on track heading into the SEC tournament next week?
I've never been a part of a team that played good if they didn't feel good. It's just that simple. Like if you in our sport, you have to kind of feel good to play good, and for a period of time now, it's been hard to feel good. So we're doing everything we can do to feel the best that we can. Make sure that the kids do know, that we believe in them, that they've shown, give them the evidence that they do have it in them. We've had some tough breaks. Maybe we're due a few breaks to go our way. but we've got to start making some of those breaks too. So the message is keep working at it. I think that's all of sports, and I think that's all of life. Not everybody can be number 1, 2, 3, or top 25, but being 35 and 40, that's a pretty good place to be. Let's have some perspective and have some appreciation for what we are doing, and stop maybe listening to some of the stuff and being influenced by stuff that's just not, it's somebody's opinion, not their facts. So we just continue to talk to these kids, help them see that, and help them learn that they can get through it. Don't let them quit. The easy way out is just to throw your hands up, move on to next year, and start building and all that. That's just not the way we're going to do things, and I don't think it's the way we should do things. So the message is keep showing up, and we do. Keep showing up. We'll keep trying some things, but we're not abandoning what we believe in and who we believe in.
Ethan?
Hey, Mike. So all year, I know before the first SEC game, you said it's a 16-game puzzle that each one's worth one. But,
Yep.
Now we are down to that part where we can see, likely where we're seeding the tournament. And this one, it's big one for SEC seeding. You win it, you're likely getting in the 7th spot. You lose it, you aren't going to drop below the 9. But for a game that's so big with all the SEC and SEC tournament talks and stuff all happening right now, how do you approach that with the team to not let the moment get too big for them?
You flash back to experience. We went to Mississippi State last year with much more on the line. Last year was massive with all the seeding implications. So we've been there. You just flash back to that. Even in drills, Ethan, we have a couple of shooting drills we do once or twice a week that you either have to be really, really good all the way through it, really steady, or you have to be great one time. Our team has tended to be that got to be great one time. So it's just a little bit of a microcosm of what our year is, what this team is. We sometimes do our best when our back's against the wall, and I think we have that feeling a little bit. So you talk about it and you say that's what it is, but we've been there before. We were there last year. It can be done. It's ironic. It's the exact same location and under very similar circumstances. Maybe they're flipped a little bit. Like Mississippi State really needed to beat us to get in the tournament and have a better seed in the SEC tournament. I do think there was a sense of relief. I had a bunch of kids walking around until the last couple of days thinking that we were, going to the SEC tournament to play on Wednesday. And I was like, well, why would you think that? Well, they don't pay attention. They block social media because it got too toxic for them. So they don't know. They don't realize that it's already been determined. We can't play on Wednesday. There's no mathematical possibility of us playing. They didn't know that. So it was my fault for not bringing and relieving them of that. Historically, our teams have played in that every few years. This group has not. Mac's group has never had to play on Wednesday. So it was a relief for that. So you keep talking about it, but you keep it in perspective and let them see that even the NCAA bubble is, they're talking about us being one of those teams on that. We'll line our resume up against everybody's that's on that bubble and see what people are holding valuable. But we've got to give them some ammunition. We need to play well. That doesn't even mean you win. You play better down the stretch. That's why the fourth quarter was so disappointing against Georgia when we kind of let it unravel, because that wasn't a 20-point game. It was a 2 or 3 possession game that ballooned to that. So the importance of finishing and, the eye test, passing that eye test when the committee gets together.
Yeah, and then the next thing I'll ask is, Mississippi State's a really high assist team, pretty good in a lot of areas. If you look at just team standings, they're in the top half of most statistical areas, in the SEC. Just what have you seen from them and, what they're doing down there?
I picked them 4th in the preseason based on the returning talent and even before they brought their people in, they got a really, really talented team back. So Sam's got them gelled at the right time. It's, just like everybody else, we go through our mid-season things that the SEC brings, but he's new. But I think they're playing their best basketball, and it's not surprising to me that statistically they're at or near the top. They've got top 4 talent, and they're playing hard, and they're playing with togetherness. That's where the assists come. It's a pass and cut offense, a lot of passes, a lot of cuts, which leads to a lot of assists. But they're really good defensively. They're good in steals. And that's who I think that team is. I think that is a team that should be picked near and finished near the top of our league. So it's not surprising they're there statistically.
One last thing I'll ask, because I mean, folks who haven't really watched from the beginning of the year haven't seen, how Michaela had, the foot issue, trying to like just play through that and be smart. And Sam's taken a lot of hard bumps, and seems like she's dealing with a few injuries. Christy took a hard hit or tweaked her ankle or something last game. Just where's the team at as far as health wise, and this time of the year?
Yeah, I think right where most teams are in February, like you're saying, nothing time that puts them on a time restriction, but it's the bumps and the bruises that the season causes. We try to eliminate a lot of that through the way we practice so that it all happens in games. So I think we're right where everybody else is in our league. There's things too that these kids go through that nobody ever knows about, that if everybody did know about, they wouldn't want to walk in their shoes. So I'm proud of them for doing it, how they do it and go about their business and keep showing up. And, Mac will have I don't know what our ice budget is, but we've spent it on Michaela Daniels. That's for sure. So, and then that's also the wear and tear of 4 years doing it, not just the year, but the 4 years of doing it. But she's we know what a battler she is, and she's never gonna come out and ask out of a rep. That's for sure. I have to take her out. We have to be the coaches and the adults in that situation, because otherwise she'd play herself into the ground.
Thanks, Mike.
You got it.
Dudley?
Coach, no matter whether it's sports or life, if you're not feeling well, you don't execute and get things done like you were mentioning. But what are some of the things that you look at when you watch film after the game that y'all are just not getting done execution-wise that could make a difference?
I call them quarterback fakes. I think the greatest NFL quarterbacks, they always carry out that fake to the last second. That's what I think makes Russell Wilson so great. Like, we're not finishing fakes, Dudley. Like our cuts to the basket, we cut them off short. Some of our closeouts are not as violent as they need to be on shooters. Where it really shows up is effort on the rebound, on the glass. That's really easy to see on film, Dudley. You can freeze it and say to a kid, "Is this really you trying?" Because it doesn't look like there's nobody in the gym that thinks it looks like you're trying at this point. But it's hard to watch. It's hard to do. And you're exactly right. Sometimes the more you hear it, the harder it is to get to do it, So it is a constant battle between pointing out just enough and not pointing out too much. And trying to be encouraging. This group does not respond well to lack of encouragement. They're better with a pat in the back than a kick in the butt. So sometimes we as coaches get out of line with that. They get out of line with it with each other, but you can see it when you get it on film. Just watch the first 4 minutes of Georgia and the last 4 minutes, and that's it, night and day. Had it going, and then it just is a shutdown. And when one shuts down, we usually all do. And that's the problem for us, is we've not been able to find a voice or find the ability to pick each other up. But we're going to keep trying. We're not done yet. We're going to try some different methods, but that's what I look for. You know it when you see it. It's one of those things that's hard to define, but you know it when you see it. This one, when you see it.
And I think we talked about this earlier in the season. When you go on the road, certainly you'd rather play at home. When you go on the road, it gives you an opportunity to put the distractions away and just come together as a group. But I would guess you're hoping that happens, and that would lead into to the last home game in the SEC tournament.
Sure, you want to gain a little momentum to that, and I hate it that it's an 8 o'clock game, because that's a really long day. But we're going to do some different things that we've done with 8 o'clock games before. We're going to have a little more of a full practice down there early in the day to break the day up a little bit. So we'll try a few new things, but yeah, I think we will be real focused. This group is adopted that mentality that when we're on the road, we are more together. So we do hope that carries over. We'll have a lot to play for on Sunday, a last home crowd, senior day for Avery and Chrissy and a couple of managers, people behind the scenes. So I won't worry about the effort at home. I just make sure we are really together and focused at Starkville.
Appreciate it.
You got it.
Ethan, you have another one?
Yeah, real quick, just reminded me, you said on Sunday celebrating Avery and Chrissy. As just decided with Mac and Aaron, are they just are they returning next year with their extra year to celebrate them then, or is it?
Yeah, they
Okay.
said that at Media Day last year. So, it's nothing's changed. So we don't want to frame their jerseys twice. No, not that. Just they don't want there to be any ambiguity. They're both playing, they're enrolling in class. Their families are making, plans to go with us on the foreign tour. So they're starting to plan out their next year. So no use going through senior day if you're going to do it next year.
The deal. Just wanted to make sure I was caught up to
Yep.
speed with that because I know I'll be getting questions. So
Yeah, no, they stated it, and I've checked in with them along the way. Whenever we started talking about getting jerseys framed, they were like, "No, coming back." And if you know how their days, they've got life as a college kid is a lot better than it used to be when I was a kid, and I think they all want to stick around as much as they can.
good deal. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Well, anyone else? Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See y'all.
See y'all in Greenville.